Hey everybody, and welcome back to some more City Skylines. Green Cities, we're back. It's been a while. I know it's been more than a while. It's been too long since the last episode came out, but we're back here looking at our sewage outflow, which doesn't really fit with the theme of our city, does it? Like, we've got this whole green city trying to be eco-friendly. We've got our windmills up there in the top right, as you can see. We've got our other water windmills over there in the distance. We've got zero ground pollution whatsoever, and yet, at the same time, we've got all of this polluted water just pumping out into the river and then flowing along downstream, and it's not really something that I think a green city should have, and as luck would have it, there is an alternative, the Eco Water Outlet. This is the green alternative. While the Eco Water Outlet is quite expensive, it helps purify the water it lets out, and pollution is reduced while not wholly gone. So, a couple of things to note here. It is more expensive, I believe, to buy. This one cost $4,000, whereas the original one cost $2,500. And then on top of that, it even requires more to run, with the normal water drain pipe requiring 320 credits a week, whereas the newer Eco Water Outlet requires 480 credits per week. And then yet again on top of that, if you look in the bottom right there, the drain capacity on the Eco Water Outlet is 60,000 meters cubed per week, whereas on the normal outlet, it's 120,000 meters cubed per week. So it does half as much and costs almost double both to buy, and it doesn't quite cost double to run, but you get the idea. It's a little bit more expensive, but we are making quite a bit of money right now. We're on $6,735 per week, off 6,735 credits, I should say. They're not dollars, but then again, you know, everyone knows what dollars are, probably. And so I'm going to go ahead and replace these. We need at least 4 of these to match the output of the ones we had before. And just to be a little bit on the kind of future-proof side, I am going to go ahead and put a few more of these down as well. And then I'm thinking that I kind of also want to move these water intake pumps over here, because I don't know about you, but now that we've kind of built up to the riverfront, this just doesn't really seem right. Like, imagine if you run these stores, or if you lived in a house that was like right here, and you just walk out every morning, and there are these gigantic water pumps just right there on the riverfront. I feel like these kind of detract a little bit from the aesthetic of the area, and so what I am going to do is I'm just going to very quickly move these right upstream. I'm fairly certain that, like, this here is far enough away from the water outflow to where our citizens shouldn't get sick, hopefully at least. So we'll go ahead and we'll put down like one here, and then we'll go and move the other one from here, and I think we'll put it like right about there, like that. Nice. And then we'll go ahead and obviously connect these up with some water pipes, like so, and like so. And then I kind of also want to get rid of the wind turbines as well, because, again, whilst they're very good at what they do, they produce a good amount of power, I feel like they do, again, detract from the overall, like, viewing experience here. Also, apparently we've caused flooding. A bunch of this area here is now flooded. Did I cause that by removing the water pumps? Really? I guess, like, right here, there was a bit of a dip when I got rid of everything. It looks like, for the most part, it's kind of fixed itself now, which is quite nice. But what we do need to do, I think, here is actually expand out, the commercial zoning, so that these guys can, like, extend out and make their buildings just a little bit bigger. Oh, wow, we've disconnected the whole city from the water grid, and I think that's because of power. Yes, it is indeed. All right, let's grab some more energy pylons and just very quickly do something, for now at least, like that. I'm still a bit iffy on our power situation. I think it looks fine, actually, though, to be fair. We did move these. Did we move these last episode? We must have done. We must have moved these pylons, because I think before we had them running, like, right across the middle of the river here. But that's fine. That looks okay. That should start to receive some power and hopefully get everything back online in terms of water. Maybe? Are we good? We are not good, but yes, we are very slowly but surely becoming good. Okay, oh my goodness, what in the world happened here? There was a fire, my goodness. Okay, pause for a second. There is too much stuff going on. First things first, we have got 2 fire stations in our city, and for 6,000 people, that's quite clearly not enough. We've got like a large area over here that is not quite covered, and so I don't want to spend 60,000 on a bigger fire station just yet. Eventually, we'll probably put one of those in what I assume is going to be our kind of downtown city area here in Sunnyside Square. But for now, we'll just grab another kind of smaller, cheaper fire station and put it down over here in the new area that we were working on in the last episode. And so now we've got those, let me quickly move these. I'm wondering, I'm kind of torn between getting rid of them entirely. Right now, they produce 21 megawatts, which I believe is about the same as 3 of the normal wind turbines. It is. These can produce a max of 8. And so if we were to get rid of them, we would have to put down 6 more wind turbines over here to compensate. And at first, I wasn't really a huge fan of this little wind farm that we have over here, but the more of these that I put down, the more I actually quite like it. I feel like it looks more like an actual kind of wind farm now, as opposed to where before it was just a little cluster of wind turbines. Obviously now it's just a really big cluster of wind turbines, but I feel like from a distance, I'll press play here, the big wind turbines, I think they look quite good. They're up there on the hill, you know, they're producing power for us, and I think that is probably fine. You know, we'll get rid of these over here. We'll try and make it look just a little bit nicer, even if it is a bit less practical. Hopefully, we are still producing enough power now. Yeah, we were producing loads, and then we got rid of like 40 megawatts worth of power, and now we're producing just a little bit less, but I think for the time being that should be fine, and it also looks like, thankfully, that didn't cause any flooding either, which is quite good. So, now that that is all taken care of, I'm going to take us up to full speed here, and what I want to try and get to in today's episode is hopefully a population of 7,500, because you may remember in the last episode, we started to have issues with our farming area, and it's kind of been an ongoing problem where a lot of the farming area was starting to leave and a lot of the buildings were starting to close down because they didn't have enough workers. And I think the main reason for that is that we don't have enough uneducated workers, right? If we look into education here, we are a little bit low on elementary school and also on high school and definitely on universities. So maybe that's why the farming area is doing so well. But I think before what happened was we put down a few elementary schools, a few high schools, and everybody in the city was getting education, and so nobody really wanted to work at the farming area because the farming area mainly hires those who are uneducated. Now, as I've just mentioned, a lot of the city right now is not educated. We don't have enough elementary schools and high schools down. But what I think I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and kind of get rid of the farming area in time, right, over the course of the next few episodes, because I want to replace it with higher education industrial work. And to do that, we need to get officers, right? Because officers, I think outside of I think they're the only non-polluting high educational work, although I could be wrong about that, outside of maybe commercial, which might also do the same thing. And so once we get to 7,500 population, we unlock high-density residential, so we can start really rapidly expanding the growth and population of our city and really start to push towards that population goal of 50,000. We also get the high-density commercial, which I'm not too worried about, but does kind of, I guess, help with the commercial demand once you get those high-density residential buildings as well. And then finally, one of the most important things that I'm looking for is the office zone. Getting that is going to allow us to put down a bunch of office buildings and then not have to worry about our industrial area causing pollution, and also not have to worry about our industrial area requiring low educated workers, you know, because otherwise we're going to have to start artificially uneducating people, like restricting the number of high schools and elementary schools we put down. I phrased that in a weird way. Uneducating, it makes it sound like we're going to build new buildings that purposefully take education away from people. Maybe it just teaches them the wrong thing to do. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here to try and incentivize as many people as possible to move into our town is I'm going to bring tax on low-density residential right down to 5%. And I'm really hoping that that will kind of skyrocket the demand for residential. And I'm also going to throw down just a bunch of new residential zoning in this new area over here. I think most of it is already covered with plumbing. It is. There is just a little bit that's not quite done yet. So let's quickly go ahead and do something like that. Probably something like that. That one didn't make it quite onto the road, but that's fine. And then again, we'll just go back over to low density residential and just fill in pretty much all of this area here. I think I'll still leave like the side of the road near the 4-lane roads. I'll leave those for commercial at some point, but we'll just fill in all of the areas between like this and have them just ready for a ton of residential. And I know I've just said that I'm going to leave these areas here for commercial, but these areas at the bottom here, they can have some residential in them. Why not? All right, and then let's just finish up here. Shouldn't take us too long. And I'm really hoping that we start to see a large number of people kind of start coming into the city. They might not do, simply due to the fact that our demand for industrial is so high right now, and we're not really fulfilling it. We could potentially expand out the industrial area a little bit just to try and quench that demand and make the city look a bit more appealing to everybody. But then again, we are almost at 7,000, and so I think if we just wait it out, I'm hoping that we will eventually get to that 7,500 mark. It seems like we're holding steady at about 50 people per week. It is kind of dipping a bit to the mid 40s, but it's kind of staying around 50, which is fine. So essentially now our city is doing quite well. And if we look, ooh, what's this? Is this a garbage? Yeah, garbage is piled up. All right, we need to, I guess, throw down another recycling center, which does lead me quite nicely into what I was going to talk about a second ago, which is our goals here. Because remember, we are playing a scenario. We do have an end game objective that we need to win the game, and then also lose conditions that if we meet, we will lose. So it looks kind of here like the recycling centers do emit a little bit of pollution, but when we look at the objectives here, our overall ground pollution is still 0%. You can see here 0% out of 15%, and so I don't think it necessarily matters how many of these we put down. Potentially, if we put down like 10 of them, we might start to see the ground pollution rise by a few percent at most, but for the most part, it looks like it's actually doing just fine. So I've extended out the road there. I've put down 2 more of these recycle centers, and hopefully that will just kind of get rid of all of this garbage that's piling up. I'm really hoping it's not a distance problem, and I don't think it's a traffic problem. If we look at our traffic stats here, for the most part, everything seems fine. We are starting to get maybe a bit of an issue at the entrance to the city here, which is kind of to be expected. I might look into putting a roundabout here so we can connect up like this main road, obviously the highway, and all of that kind of stuff at some point in the near future. But for now, I think traffic is looking fine. It's probably not what's causing the garbage to pile up. I think it's just we didn't have enough recycling centers. But yeah, basically now we're kind of just focused on expansion, right? The only 2 objectives that we have yet to complete are get our population up to 50,000 and produce 500 megawatts worth of electricity. Now, the electricity goal could be quite expensive if we try and go at it with all wind turbines, right? Because we'd need like 100 or maybe like 75 wind turbines to get the job done, which I don't really think we're going to fit up on this mountain. And so instead, I think our main goal for those is really just expanding our city until we unlock solar power plants and also those nuclear power plants as well, because both of those, you can see there, kind of on the right of the little tooltip, produce 0 pollution. So once we get those, this thing can produce up to 640 megawatts of power on its own. And so really, we just need 1 nuclear power plant or maybe a couple of these solar panels, 4 or 5 of those, and we've completed that aspect of the challenge as well. And so really, we're kind of looking now for rapid population expansion. And to do that, we need the high-density commercial and high-density residential, more specifically, I should say, which we should be getting, I hope, any second now. We're at 7,429. It's going up really slowly right now. It's going up like 1 citizen and then down by like 2, but then up by like 3 and then down by 1. It's very, very slowly creeping up to 7,500. So it should get there any second now, at which point we kind of have to decide where we're going to put all of the office buildings, right? Do we want to put them here in the center? Do we want to kind of produce like an actual downtown city area here? Because right now it doesn't really act like that, right? If you go into any major city, it's got places where people live, but the vast majority of the area is kind of taken up by skyscrapers, vast, massive buildings with offices in. And look, we have become a big town, not a boom town. I think Boomtown was earlier. Yeah, Boomtown was 2,400 people. We are now a big town. We've unlocked a new area, some new taxation policies. We have unlocked a new office specialization, which I believe is new in the Green Cities DLC. That is the IT cluster. What does this one say? The IT cluster is an office specialization that changes the office buildings into high-tech buildings, requires 50% less workers, consumes 30% more electricity, and generates 30% more tax revenue. I quite like the sound of that. I don't know if it's a great idea, considering that we want offices that need workers because we're trying to rapidly increase our population. And I think going with the IT cluster might lead to less people wanting to move here because they don't need as many workers. But at the same time, as long as we've got the land to put down more office buildings, I don't really think it's going to be an issue. What else do we have? We've got education boost, which we can probably take advantage of if we do go with the IT cluster. And then most importantly, we've unlocked high-density residential, high-density commercial, and office zoning, which is quite nice. We've also unlocked blimps as well, which is pretty cool. We might end up using those at some point. We've also got Modern Technology Institute. This school teaches teenagers in the way of technology, an alternative to the university. That's pretty interesting. I think that's also new in the Green Cities DLC. So, I'm going to pause here real quick. Where do we want to put all of this stuff? I think I do kind of want to make like an actual downtown-looking area. So, let us, first of all, assign this as a tech IT cluster, because I want to try it. It's new. I kind of just want to test it out, see what it's like, see what the buildings look like. Hopefully they've got some new buildings for it and they're not just reusing the old kind of models. And then I guess we'll just kind of, we're going to lose a lot of people here, but we'll get rid of like this area and just replace it. I'll try that again, like that, and then replace it with a bunch of office buildings like so. Also, whilst those are doing that, one thing I did forget to do in the last episode, or one thing that we just haven't done yet, is actually put down another district to bring all of these new houses into kind of our city's law, because right now these guys are just, they're living in the Wild West. No rules apply in this area, and so we do need to go ahead and just very quickly, again, trying to stick to the road here so we get like a nice straight edge to our district, try and encase pretty much all of the new area here. And then I think this one's probably just going to go right up against the dotted line there. Yeah, like almost like so. I'm not quite sure why it's dipped there. That's going to really annoy me, but it's fine. We'll just do something like this. And then I think what I'm going to do here is probably bring that in like this. And for now, just to make sure that the district kind of, the boundary, I want the boundary to be this middle road, right? This main road that kind of circles the, have I done that right? No, it's messing up again. The circle here that is the boundary between kind of the central downtown area, aka Sunnyside Square, and this new kind of suburban area that we've got. So I'll bring that right round, and then like here, we can just have that connect like so. And if we then fill this all in, did I just start a new district? I did, gosh dang it. You know, the tools in this sometimes, they frustrate me a little bit. They shouldn't, because they're actually kind of fine, but at the same time, now I've got to get rid of this entire district, which shouldn't take us more than a few seconds, actually. So we'll do that. There we go. Beautiful new district. Can we get rid of Dean Hills? There we go. Okay, so now we've got Cherry Hills. We should probably rename all of these districts at some point. Even Sunnyside Square is probably not the best name for kind of our eco-centric downtown area. But there we go. We got a whole new district right there. I don't want any of this. I want it to be straight and in line with the road. Like that. There we go. Okay, so let me just check here real quick. What? Oh, look at these. I like this a lot. Look at all of these buildings. I love that they are, like, by default, skyscrapers. Smart Reads Inc. Small Smart Reads Inc. Okay. Edison Motors. We've got Sunlight to Food Enterprises. Okay. Is that not what all food is? Just sunlight to food? Maybe not. So recycling, parks and recreation, and recycling plastic are the three services that we have. And then we've also got encourage biking. I think we'll do the same thing here in Cherry Hills. We'll go ahead and encourage biking. But also, I will speed up here to speed 3. And then, of course, we will recycle, and we will recycle plastic as well. Did we unlock electric cars? We did. Okay, so I think I will go ahead and, like, require everybody to use electric cars. Let's hover over this here real quick. Everyone living in the policy area must switch to an electric car if they own any car. Costs 2 per vehicle per week. So I'm assuming it costs us in tax revenue, maybe. But I'm interested to see what the electric cars look like. So I'm assuming over kind of the next couple of days or in-game weeks, I guess, maybe, we'll start to see all of the cars transition into electric cars. Although, again, they might just be normal-looking cars that are electric. I'm not quite sure. But either way, the demand for industry has fallen greatly. It's almost gone. And our population is, again, ever so slightly on the rise, which is quite good. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring taxes back up on the low-density residential. And I also think I'm going to start replacing a couple of these areas around here with some high-density residential. So, for example, if we get rid of this and replace it like that, and then in the name of symmetry, I guess we could do the same thing like here, and then on the other side of the road, like here, and then, of course, finally, like here. It does create a bit of a weird predicament in that we've got this high school that's just kind of surrounded by these massive high-tech corporations. I don't know, maybe that's normal. I don't know, I don't live in a big city. If you do live in a big city, let me know if your high school is right next to, like, flipping Procter & Gamble or something. If you've got, like, a huge, just multinational corporation in the skyscraper next to you. But anyway, we've got more demand for industrial, like, right away. And so I think we're going to lose a lot of people, right? We're going to lose a good chunk of our population. But I think in the long haul, we're also going to gain a good chunk of population. And we do have a bit of money to lose right now. We've got $250,000 in the bank. And so I'm going to bring down the tax on high-density residential to try and incentivize. You know, I'm going to charge them 1%. I'm going to make it real cheap for high-density residential people to move in and live here. So I'm really incentivizing people to move into this downtown area. Of course, at a certain point in the future, we will go ahead and increase that tax a little bit. But for now, I think that works out just fine. And then we should probably also introduce a little bit of high-density commercial as well. I think maybe in these slots here at either end of the road. So if we do like that, and then maybe we do the same like this. And then also on the other side, again, we're going to lose a good chunk of our population. Hopefully, we don't go bankrupt. That is something that we have to worry about. If we go into the black at all, we lose, right? We just instantly lose a scenario, which is, of course, not something that we're after. So now that we've kind of quenched the demand for offices and for commercial a little bit, you can see that the demand for residential is kind of starting to peak up ever so slightly, and people are starting to move in to these areas around here. We did lose almost 2,000 of the people that lived in our city, but it is starting to slowly kind of creep on back up, and hopefully by the end of the episode we will have enough people. We'll have more people than we started the episode with. So not enough educated workers. That is a valid criticism. So we have apparently got more than enough elementary schools now, but we do need more high schools. So let's go ahead and throw another one down, just kind of in the new suburban area over here. And then we could probably also throw down a university as well. But I'm kind of interested in trying out the Modern Technology Institute, especially now that we've got this IT cluster. I think that having the Modern Technology Institute, which is an alternative to the university, might actually work out quite nicely. Now, I really wish I could put it in the center of the city here, but I can't really do that, at least not without entirely getting rid of the symmetry that I've kind of worked to create within the downtown area. And so I think instead for now, we'll put it like right there on the outskirts of the city. It looks pretty cool. I like the look of the building here. We've got this like globe in the center. I like it a lot. I think in the next episode, we're going to have to do some more work on transport. Because, of course, in the previous episode, we did set up tram lines and a couple of bus lines. But now that we've expanded out to the Cherry Hills area that encompasses like this whole area up until the river here. And, of course, now that we've put down a few more key buildings like the Modern Technology Institute in the kind of core downtown area, we could probably do with a couple more buses that stop off at places like this. And then also create a couple more bus lines that connect up over here. And heck, maybe even look into expanding out into some other mass transport like the metro station, maybe boats, maybe planes, and then maybe blimps. We'll see. I'm not quite sure if blimps are entirely necessary, but at the same time, they are always fun to throw down nonetheless. So I'm really hoping here that a lot of these issues resolve themselves now that we've thrown down some more high schools, some more elementary schools. Do we need more elementary schools? It said no, but we were, like at the start of the episode, we were in need of them. Just to be on the safe side here, I think I will throw down another elementary school. Probably, I mean, I guess in the downtown area. These are all red here, despite the fact that they live, I guess, fairly close to this one and this one. But we'll put those there. Hopefully, that will be enough to kind of cover elementary school education for the coming episodes. Also, we do still have, again, a big demand for commercial, despite the fact that a lot of our commercial stores here don't have enough educated workers, which is really not something that I want. And I'm kind of hoping that it just dispels itself. But I guess in the short term, we can put a bit more high-density commercial kind of around the new university we built. You know, give the students somewhere to buy stuff from. And yeah, I think the city is actually doing pretty well. How is the farming district doing? The farming area is doing fine. Like, it's doing entirely fine, which is good. It looks like a lot of the little complaints about not having enough educated workers is slowly but surely like falling by the wayside. Like a lot of these in the middle here are no longer complaining. And actually, now that I think about it, we can, in fact, go into our policies here and enable the education boost, right? We can apply the education boost to all of our districts, which prioritizes education over working for young adults and increases the education budget by 25%, probably making education quite expensive at this point. I don't know if we necessarily need electricity up at 125%. And as I say that, I mean, we definitely do need electricity up at 125% because we are on the brink of not having enough power, which is definitely not what we want. And so let me throw down a couple more of these wind turbines here. Again, we've got more than enough money right now to kind of just spend, not aimlessly, but definitely on stuff like electricity that we are going to need, obviously, in the long term here. I really wish I could kind of fit one a little bit further back there, but that's fine. Yeah, I quite like that. I quite like that a lot. So there is still a good chunk of area here that does need like redoing. I still want to replace most of the low density residential. Put it this way, I don't want to have any low density residential in the kind of central circle here. Sunnyside Square is going to be 100% offices, high density commercial and high density residential, with the low density commercial and low density residential being reserved for kind of the outer area, which hopefully in the coming episodes I will expand out to the other side of the circle here. The other side's a bit hard to work with because it really just starts going uphill, and so I'm not quite sure how we're going to fill this in. Probably have like a road that comes like around the kind of base of the mountain. I don't want to build it now, but have a road that comes round the base of the mountain and then build kind of a bit of a smaller suburban area kind of in and around between the mountain and Sunnyside Square. That's what I'm thinking, at least. Whether or not that actually becomes a reality, we are, of course, yet to know. Now, do we have any good roundabouts? We've unlocked all of the roundabouts here, and so I am thinking that I might actually go ahead and buy this square here, because A, it's really cheap, and B, we've got a lot of squares that we can buy still, and then kind of do a bit of reworking on this section here, because it is kind of where our traffic is the heaviest. And for example, if people want to get off of the main highway here and into, for example, Cherry Hills, like this bottom corner, they've got to go either all the way over here around past the farming area in and then down, or they've got to go into here into the main Sunnyside Square, round, out, and then down, which is, you know, it's far either way you put it. And so having a connection to the highway on this side here is hopefully going to alleviate a little bit of traffic at this like 5-way intersection that we've created over here. And so I was gonna say I'm gonna press play. I'm not gonna press play because we need to kind of pause traffic for a second. How big of a roundabout can we fit in here? We can almost fit this in, but I'm wondering if it might not be a better idea to throw in one of these potentially. And I think I'm actually going to. So let me get rid of pretty much everything here. And then once we've cleared out a good chunk of space, let's see if we can't... Oh, we need to clear out a little bit more on both sides here. And then let's throw down one of these. Again, I don't like that these are all... It's a very straight line, which doesn't really work because we've got this kind of curved highway. And so it is going to look a little bit odd, but at the same time, I kind of want... I think I might bring it back a bit further as well, especially on this side, just so that I can have this kind of line up with the core city, the downtown area, so that it's something like that, and then kind of build the highway around that, if that makes sense. So we'll have a road that goes up, and we are going to have to curve it ever so slightly to connect up there, and then the same kind of idea connecting up there. It does, again, create a bit of a gap kind of in the middle here. You can see it starts off quite small and then widens and then shrinks again, which is not really what I want. I like the evenness that goes all the way around, but at the same time, I don't want to spend too long doing this. Also, we do need to definitely bring this back just a little bit so that we can connect this up without it looking 100% ridiculous. Like that, and again, you can see it gets really thin in the middle there. I might work on that between episodes, but for the most part, at least from a distance, I think it looks just fine. And then what we'll do, I think, here is we'll have this 4-lane road continue down ever so slightly to like here, and then I want these to all connect up on there. And I think to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have kind of an off-ramp from here that goes over to this area, right? And then we might also have an off-ramp here that connects to the other side, but I'll work on that in a second. And then what we'll do is we might just be making more traffic than we had before here. I'm not going to lie, this might end up just being like demonstrably worse than it was previously. But I'm thinking what I might do here is I might temporarily get rid of this, which is going to mess up all of our train lines, I know, but then have this come around like that, and then have this do a similar thing and come around like that, and then of course we want to reverse that road so that people can come in to here and then drive to get on the main road if they want to, and then they can leave out here like that, right? And then we'll move the like tram roundabout that we had a second ago, if I can find that again, and we'll put that just at the end like this. So we'll have again a little, if I can make this work, I'm hoping to have just a little square roundabout that's hopefully symmetrical like that. And again, it does make the whole city look more symmetrical now that that is in the middle as opposed to being kind of off to one side. Then my only other concern here is people who want to kind of get out of Cherry Hills. I guess they could turn here and then go around and through here and then out. But at the same time, I kind of want to put... Oh, I don't know, because I want to put like an area that goes underground here, but I feel like it's going to look actually ridiculous, right? Because we can, of course, do something that looks like, if I can get it to work, I want it to be curved like that, and then obviously just run underground and come back up on this side, like somewhere. That's a really sharp turn. Like, not anywhere near as sharp as I want it to be. I mean, it looks a little odd, but at the same time, I think it's going to work out quite nicely. It means people can get out and onto the highway from here. There was probably a more elegant way of doing that, but at the same time, I'm thinking hopefully that will alleviate a little bit of the traffic, especially at this highway here. Because again, I think one of the main reasons why traffic builds up here, also we do need to get rid of the traffic lights we've just created. I think one of the reasons why traffic does kind of congest here is because of the fact that all the trams had to go through this junction. Actually, we didn't create any traffic lights. We put one there, and I'm guessing we also created one over here. No, we didn't. Okay, cool. So I don't think we have any traffic lights that we have to worry about. I guess we do have a few, actually, that are on the outskirts of the town here. Again, I'm still working under this kind of no traffic light policy. I don't want to have any traffic lights whatsoever in the city, because I feel like, obviously in a real city, I would put down traffic lights, but for whatever reason, in City Skylines, it just seems like they don't do as good a job. It seems like the cars are not programmed in a way that they respect traffic lights, right? They end up just waiting too long, and it feels like stop signs do the same job, but better. I could be wrong about that. I'm, of course, no City Skylines expert, but I think that works out quite nicely. I've got this like new area over here. It's a bit more open. It's a bit more symmetrical, at least if you don't include this kind of like weird off-ramp that we've built that goes underground here. And it kind of looks like a little person, right? A weird person, because they've got like 4 eyes up here, but you know, they've got these like legs, they've got some little arms, one arm's shorter than the other, this one's like grabbing the road. Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like a little guy, and I quite like that, you know, I quite like that. And we are again now up above the population of 7,500, so we are now at the highest population that we've ever had, which is quite nice, and so I think that that is time and a good sign for us to kick some people out. So everybody who lives in this area here, get on out of here. We're replacing you with some high-density residential to kind of quench some of that demand that we've got and to try and increase our population as much as we possibly can. And then we'll do the same thing over here on this side. And so, yeah, now really the whole scenario here is just expansion, right? The only thing that we have to worry about now is expanding our population. As we expand our population, we'll unlock better sources of electricity, like the solar panel and the nuclear power plant. And we're just kind of pushing towards 50,000. We're trying to expand whilst maintaining all of our resources, which I guess really is the entire point of the whole game, right? It's not necessarily specific to the scenarios, but for this scenario in particular, now we just need to make sure that we don't accidentally throw down any polluting sources of power generation or any industry that's not office work or not farming. But other than that, if we can keep to both of those, I think this scenario is going to prove fairly easy for us to complete here, which is quite nice. It's good. It means we can kind of expand out leisurely without having to worry too much and constantly checking to see if our ground pollution is close to 15%, because I don't really think it's ever going to get anywhere near 15%. I think we've got as close to 15% as we were ever going to get. And already, look at that. We got rid of so many buildings, but already the population is just jumping up again, which is fantastic. And then finally here, I guess we still do have a fair bit of demand for high-density commercial. And so I think what I might do in a similar fashion here is just get rid of a bunch of the commercial that exists around the outskirts of Sunnyside Square and replace that with some high-density commercial to hopefully quench a bit more of that demand. And again, kind of in keeping with everything else, make sure that all of our low-density commercial is in the outside area, right? It stays along the seafront. I did miss a couple of tiles there. Also, that tile right there does not need to be blue. It needs to be green. But yeah, keep all of the low-density commercial out and in this area over here. They are still complaining about not having enough educated workers. Hopefully, that is not a problem, although our demand for elementary schools has skyrocketed, and we're almost at the point again where we need another one. And so I guess we might as well throw another one down. And looking at the map here, it looks like we should definitely put this 4th elementary school over here somewhere, because all 3 of them are located in the Sunnyside Square area, with none of them out here in Cherry Hills, which is definitely not a good distribution there. Also, we do have a little bit of space around here where I guess we can also fill in some high-density residential. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to put high-density residential buildings like here, because I don't think anyone's going to go to them. But then again, people do get off the trams. They don't though, really. People could walk to these stores. You know what? Sure, it's a bad place to put a business, but if you want to do it, we've got our first person here, the Multimedia Center. I'm telling you right now, this is a terrible place to start a business, but if you want to do it, the Multimedia Center is going all in. They've got two 2-star locations less than like 12 feet away from each other, although this is probably more like 30 feet maybe. 2 locations right next to each other in like the worst part of town. You know what? Sure, if you want to do that, fine. You guys do that. Flipping egg. Our population is growing still. We're almost at 8,000. What do we unlock at the next milestone here? Let me, we become a small city at that point. And do we unlock anything in terms of power generation? We unlock the hydro power plant. Again, still not really that into these, because every time I try and mess with water, the city just floods. We do unlock high-tech housing, which I always like. I feel like it makes the buildings look quite cool. And then once we become a big city, which is 17,000 people, we unlock the water treatment plant, which again is good for kind of the eco-friendly vibe that we've got going here. We can start pumping out less polluted water. I'm assuming that these do produce less polluted water than these guys. But look at this. Look at this. Compare this to the view that we had at the beginning of the episode. You know, we can zoom right in again. Look how much clearer this water is. It's so much less polluted. It's still a little bit polluted, but significantly less than it was before, which is great. Also, final thought here. I was wondering if we were kind of running out of water availability, because we've put down a lot of new buildings. Oh my goodness, we have just bankrupted the farming district. My goodness, the Amy's farming district, they're going under. I'm sorry to tell you this, guys, but your time has come. Amy, your time on the throne is over. Not enough workers? Yeah, I mean, that's not surprising. We've set up a new, like, high-tech downtown area, and we've emphasized education across the nation, so I don't really foresee, like, the farming area making a comeback. We could, I guess, work on setting up some new buildings on this side for low education workers, but I'm also kind of fine with the farming district just going out of business, as harsh as that sounds. Also, I like the high-density commercial, but I don't think they necessarily fit with the look of the downtown area, because all of the high-density residential and all of the office buildings are all these, like, skyscrapers, right? And so what I might do is replace all of the low density around the outside with high density, and then replace all of these with more offices, so that the whole kind of central circle is full of these like skyscrapers that gradually get smaller the further you go out of the city. You know, we'll have all of the big office high-tech buildings in the middle, and then we'll have the residential buildings on the outskirts. Then we'll have the high-density commercial on the outskirts, on the outer outskirts, and then from there on, we'll have all of the low-density residential and commercial buildings in the areas kind of sprawling out from that circle. I think that could look pretty nice, but with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode of City Skylines Green Cities there for today. As always, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit like. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys next time.